Hi, Facebook. I'm live and it's counting. We're coming to you today from Costa Rica. And it's going to wait for some people to show up. Okay, we're starting to build a little bit. That's great. Okay, welcome everyone. We're coming live from Costa Rica today. I have a lot to discuss today. There's so many different things that have gone on. I haven't quite figured out how to use this computer, but I'm here. My name is Jerry. We're in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. Hi guys. And we're alive from the hurricane. As a matter of fact, this is our first week back. We lost a lot of trees and had all kinds of things happen here. We had the most incredible healings this week here, and I mean the most incredible. I want to cry right now because this past group was just amazing. I want to talk a little bit about that, but first I just want to say that who we are. We're Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Costa Rica. We're a plant-based healing center, so we do transformational healings using metaphysics and sacred plant medicine, including ayahuasca, and just a bunch of other stuff. It's much more than I can say in a minute. Our claim to fame is that on a self-reported basis, about 94% of the people who walk through the door leave having a life-changing miracle that occurred in their life during the week that they're here. And we really are doing a pretty good job at doing this. We've made this tremendous place, and I invite you all to come visit us one day. Before I get going on that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Jerry. I was a high school dropout. I was born in a fairly violent environment. I became a millionaire in my 20s, and a real millionaire, meaning I had $1 million in my 20s. I bought my first airplane in my 20s. In my 30s, I became a multimillionaire at about $140 million net worth, and this is all documentable. I went broke in my late 30s and started another company in my late 30s, and that company I sold when I was 41 for $94 million US. And during that time, my life completely went off the rails. I was a terrible guy, had a terrible, terrible life, and got saved by the grace of God and plant medicine. And it's changed my life, and I started the center, and the center does this for other people, and it's not for addicts it's just for people, and it changes their lives. I just want to give you a little story. There was this is our first week back. We were off for 3.5 weeks, and this is our first week back, and there was a young lady on the bus that we sent to the airport to get people, and when she got here, she told me she was suicidal, and she was just the sweetest person that I can ever explain to you. And she's leaving tomorrow, and everybody that was here, that started the week and finished the week with us, had this miracle happen in their lives, and they look like completely different people than the day that they got here. And it really is. I mean, it's night and day. They are different people than when they got here. But her in particular, because she was ready to commit suicide, this was her last place before she took her own life, and she's leaving here a brand new person, a force to be reckoned with. Like all of her life's pain has been transmuted in a week, and she gets it. She's on point, and she's going. This is the kind of thing that happens here every week. I have a special thing this week. I want to say, and I want to tell you, the people that go home, my biggest fear for them when they're leaving is that their pets won't recognize them, and their dog might bite them when they come into the house, because they're so different than the day that they got here. And when I'm telling you, I say that jokingly, but the truth is they're different people than the people that came here. This place is magic, and it does it, and it works all the time. I have a special thing this week. My lovely mother of 84 years. She's the reason this place is here. She's been through everything with me, and she's my heart. I don't get to see her enough, and she's having some health issues, so I'd love if you could keep her in your prayers this week. That'd be great. And I just want to say hi to my beautiful wife, Brandy, and she's the other half of the reason this place is here. She's there and helping me with every single step of this thing. So I thank you, and I love you, and I miss you, Brandy. And I just want to talk about this week and the news and how this news has been affecting us. And I want to talk about that, and then I want to talk more about what happens here in our process and how it's all intertwined, how it's all connected. So the first thing I want to ask you to do is if you want anybody else to hear this broadcast, to please do me a favor and share this if you can. This is a pretty important one, and I'm going to tell you why it's important. It's important because of what we're being told. And I want to talk about this and why it is the way that it is. The things are much better than you think they are. And I'm going to get into the events of this week in Las Vegas in a minute, but things are much, much better than you think they are. And I want to go into a little bit of that with you, and just, I know that I cover this all the time, but I really want people to understand. So why are things better than we think they are? Well, here's the reasons. We're living in the least violent times of the last 5,000 years. And that's from a book, The Better Angels of Our Nature. It's a study, and it's a factual thing. Since 1990, the amount of people living in poverty has been cut in half, okay? Cut in half, and this is all stuff you can't make up. This is all traceable and trackable. People are living much longer than they were just a few years ago. So every year, with the exception of 1 year where we had a little blip, people are living longer and longer and longer and longer. And that's a wonderful time to be born, right? So all of these things are working in our favor. If you believe the truth is the shift has begun, that we're in a period of growth, we're in a period of beauty, we're in a period of grace. This is the start of everything. Violence is down, and longevity is up, poverty is down. You don't have to be too smart. You tie these things together and you'll get a picture that we're in a time of change. We are in the shift and you're a part of it. The chance of you being here, 400 trillion to 1. That sperm, meaning that egg, and that happening of you is 400 trillion to 1. Now it's only 20 million to 1 to become a president of the United States. So this is something that is you're a real rare commodity, and you happen to come here you picked this time the beginning of what I think is a golden age, and so do many other people. You picked this time to be here, and I want you to be here. So the first question that comes to mind is that what is this news, and how does it work? So I'm going to tell you first something about our place because it fits into this. At our place, we have super success in a week because we work on your subconscious, your spirit, and or soul. That's where we spend our work. And I often talk about the reasons why modern psychology takes so long. And I'm going to give you the reason why it takes so long. And why what we do is so short. It's because in modern psychology, you go there once a week, generally, for an hour, so 52 weeks a year, and what the psychologist will generally tell you is, hey, Jerry, nice to see you. If it took you 50 years to get this screwed up, then do you think it's fair for me to ask you to give me 10 or 20 years to get you unscrewed up? This is the conversation. People say yes. And the reason why is that it only takes 1 minute, right, for the thing to happen. But you might have to be there for 20 years for all of your tumblers to line up so that in that minute, what is said hits your subconscious and makes the change. And then you can take it from the conscious being on the couch to the subconscious in your life and having it being a piece of your life that works. Fact. So now I want to tell you something. So if you take a look at this and you say, okay, that is how often I go to the place and da-da-da, so something unique comes up. So now this is what's unique. And I'm going to ask you to share this. If you haven't shared this, please share this because it's important. It's a piece of the news that's the good news and why it's being reported the way that things are being reported. So let's talk about this. So I'm going to talk to you about something broad, and that is brainwashing. So you can say that psychology is brainwashing, that what we do down here is brainwashing. Because it is, because brainwashing is hitting that part of your subconscious that we don't control and having it change something that outpictures itself in a new way. That's brainwashing, right? So now I'm going to tell you this. In psychology, you got to figure 10 years, right, is 520 hours of psychology that you would have in 10 years. And that's enough to make a change. That's 1 hour a week, never missing a week for 10 years. Now, according to most news polls, they say that the average time of media exposure for a middle-aged man is 3 hours a day. For kids, it's more of media exposure. Now, that media exposure includes the news. It includes secondhand news. It includes the news that's reported, that's re-reported by the guy who's at the water fountain at work. It's this thing that happens. So you're getting, in effect, and this is what's crazy, you're getting, and I wrote this down, you're getting about 20 years. So listen to this. By the time you're 20 at 3 hours a day, you've received the equivalent of 400 years of psychotherapy in things from the news that are hitting the back of your head. Now, if that's not brainwashing, what is? And now when people say, well, there's fake news, I say there's not. What there is there's news reported out of context. Everything that I told you today is true. Poverty is in half. We're living longer. The least violent times in the last 5,000 years. These are all things that are researchable and reportable. They're true. They're not being reported. So the thing is, you can report a series of events happens within a day. I can choose what to report to you. Why do I report the bad news? Because your reptilian brain wants to be alive. So your reptilian brain wants to hear the bad news because you want to know where there's a shooter loose. You want to know that where there's a rapist. You want to know where there's a traffic jam. You want to know where what bank is going to get robbed. You want to know what stock is going to get devalued. These are all things that make you feel safe in an environment that's outwardly looking is hostile life. So you want to feel safe. So that's where you go to. Now the advertisers and the news people know that. So I own TV stations, radio stations, this internet, whatever. I'm going to report that bad news. You know why? Because it gains eyeballs. And when it gains eyeballs, what can I do? I can sell my advertising for more money. So there's a natural thing that happens. And it's not like diabolical or anything. It's just what happens when greed is unleashed. It keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So of course we're going to be reporting on the things that ring our cash register. Fact. And strangely enough, it's the things that you want to hear. So what I constantly try to do, and what I'm going to ask you to do, is to just think about these things for a minute, to put the totality of the news. So the way that I can combat this as a human, because I want to tell people the good news. As a matter of fact, I want to tell people the truth. So now all these news companies say that we're bringing you the unbiased truth is bullshit. They're bringing you their version of the worst news. Now, it's their version and how they're seeing it, whether you're a CNN person or a Fox person or any of this bullshit. It doesn't even matter. It's their version of the bad news. It's just the truth. Because in the more sensational that they can make it, the better for them. Now, there's things that happen in life events that may have a conspiracy flavor to them, and I'm going to talk about what happened this week for 1 minute with you. But first, let's talk about something else. So the events of this week, of this past week, were terrible. It's one of the kinds of things that put you in such a bad mood to know that so many innocent people were harmed and hurt and murdered, and it's a terrible, terrible, terrible feeling. Now I want you to put that in context with some other things that happened this week, right? So in the same week that just happened, on the same day, there were 50 deaths in Las Vegas, and they were thankless and stupid and without reason and all these things. There were 142 alcohol-related deaths that day. There were 712 medically misdiagnosed deaths that day, right? So here there's lots of different things that happen, and lots of them are bad. But in the context of everything being good. So I tell you, like, it's still, poverty's still in half. That shooting, those 50 people, does not affect the 7 billion in a way that dramatically changes the numbers. We're still living in the least violent times of the last 5,000 years, but yet what's being reported to us and what is the feeling that it's giving us? So the feeling is, I'm afraid. The feeling is, I'm sad. The feeling is, that's terrible. The feeling is, this is out of control. The feeling is, I have to do something to change it. These are all the feelings, because these are the feelings that are being sold, because they're the ones that are wanting to be bought. So we're equally as guilty. Everybody who's in this is equally as guilty as the people who are selling the news and the advertisers who are buying the space, or creating the stories and spinning them in such a manner that makes us afraid. So now I'm going to tell you that's the filming and the interpretation and the repackaging of the terrible event that occurred. And now I'm going to say one more thing about this, because it's disheartening to me. So the event itself, I'm going to talk about the event itself, and I don't know enough to know things, but I see governments that are opportunistic over events like this. Now, I'm not going to be as conspiracy oriented to say that this is why it happened, but I'm going to tell you what, the Patriot Act after 9/11 allowed our government to say that anybody's a terrorist, anybody. And once they said that allowed them to take their stuff and to find out tax information on them, to do all kinds of stuff, to lose certain personal liberties if they can say something. So now here's what's interesting. So I don't know why what happened, but it's very interesting that the sole shooter always gets shot or commits suicide, or for some reason there's no letter over what anything has ever been done. There's no reasoning behind it, and usually folks that do that kind of thing leave what's known as a manifesto. They leave a story behind why they did it. And you notice that story was uniquely missing in the case of Lee Harvey Oswald. It's missing in the case of this fella. So it makes somebody with a little bit of a brain question. Just put everything into question. I'm not saying it's what's going on. I'm saying I put it into question. And then immediately, because a lot of times what's interesting is the event of the day is over here, and then 6 months later we hear something that passed in Congress over here, or something else that happened that was financially related over here, and then 8 months later we're trying to tie these things together. Well, what was super interesting to me was immediately after that happened, people started talking about that the casinos were wrong because the casinos didn't run security checks on the guy. So then I immediately thought, well, wait a second. These people are going to turn a casino or a big hotel into like what's going on in an airport. And I started pulling on that string and seeing where the financial piece of that led, and it's a scary place. So I'm going to tell you that the events were terrible, and the poor people that were mowed down in that way, and the poor families that are left that have to put, I want to keep them in my prayers all the time. And for whatever reason this guy did this, I don't know. But he's one out of 339 million peace-loving people that as a group of us, we're trying to change the world, and we're waking up, and we're changing, and we're part of this shift, and we know it. And what I'm going to tell you to do is to make sure that your kids know the truth, to make sure that your neighbors know the truth. So the truth is this: those things that I talked about. The least violent time in 5,000 years, poverty is down. Here's a great one. In 1950, when everybody, if you listen to people a little bit older than me, they always talk about, how the 50s were perfect and da-da-da. Listen to this. Having a son today and having a son in 1950, your son in 1950 had 12 times higher chance of dying in a war than your son does today. You don't find that in the news, do you? You don't find that in the news, do you? But it's the truth. So like these things that I want you to keep knowing the truth yourself, that no media outlet, no advertising machine, nobody's going to change your mind, that these are the good old days. These are the time of the shift. This is the golden age. This is really, really happening. And I want you to be aware of it, and to tell your kids, and to talk about it, because it's the truth. I don't want you to paint a picture. I'm not a positive mental attitude guy. I'm not a Zig Ziglar. Go say this and someday it will be true. I just want to tell the truth about what's going on right now. I want to report real math, and I want to talk about the real truth, and be honest about it. And I want you to do that with yourself, because when you know that truth, and part of your awareness in the day is if you're in that truth, you're going to have a much different experience of the day, of the people around you, and of your own life. So that's my request of you, and I'm sorry that I went down that path, but I had to. So now I want to talk about what it is we do here, and how it can affect you, and how it can change your life. So I'm going to get into this little thing, how the medicine and my experience with plant medicine changed my life. I came back from Costa Rica. I was a different person, and I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to start my own center, and I'm going to make this center the place that heals people just like I got healed. And so I want to tell you what it told me, because I was wondering why there was so much pain in my life, and why I knew so many people who were living in this pain. And the medicine explained to me that you were born, and when you were born, you were designed to break. And by break, you were born here, and then something happened in your life between when you were conceived and 5 years old, and that made you leave your soul, and go over here and become something else. And this shift, this break that happened, that explained to me that all disease, all addictions, all disorders, and all sadness are a result of this break. All of it. And so this splitting that you'll hear us talk about so much down here, This is what this whole thing's about. When you hear about this split, and when you internalize what it is, that this thing actually happened, and then to know that it happened by design, that in order for you to evolve in this lifetime, you couldn't evolve if you stayed with your soul and remembered who you were. Because this pain that you experience in your life, this feeling of not being enough, all of these things have to happen in a vacuum in order for it to expand your consciousness. So in other words, when you're at your weakest point, right when you're breaking yourself, you're giving up, you're almost suicidal, you're da-da-da-da-da, and you're saying, why me? I'm alone, da-da-da-da-da, that's where the growth is, right? So now, in our lives, let's say if you're listening to this or you're a part of this, we've done that enough. And now we want to get back with our soul, right? We've had enough sadness. We've had enough disappointment. We've grown enough for this trip. And we really, really, really want to get put back with our soul. And that's what we do here. So a lot of you are saying, okay, it sounds like a crock of shit to me because I don't even understand what you're talking about. What are some of the signs that I'm not with my soul? Well, there's two. And the first thing is that the faces change, but the song remains the same. And that means that the life events in your life keep happening, although the faces change. So you're on girlfriend number 200, and they all end up in kind of the same bucket. They all end up ending that way. And you say, wow, I picked girlfriends really bad. I'm going to tell you, no, that's not true. That's just not true. It's a fact. It's just something that you're not merged with your soul, so you can't be in truth yet and you can't do that stuff yet. If you're on job number 85 and you always get fired in the same way, or there's just so many things. You have the same argument with your family and da-da-da-da-da. So the faces change, but the song remains the same. And then the second thing is that the things that you love, you no longer know if you love. So the things in your life that used to excite you, you don't find yourself even excited about. And it was explained to me by the medicine that feeling of general malaise, this feeling of just not being excited. Sometimes we ask our partners, hey, do I still like that? Sometimes I said to your friends, hey, you know what, I don't know even if I like to play golf anymore. I don't know if I like to surf anymore. I don't know, da-da-da. And the reason is that when this split happened and we left, you can stay in character for a little time, but you can't stay in character forever. So the longer you're out here, you don't even know if you like the things because you were acting like someone else. After you leave yourself, you were acting like someone else for a long time. So I know some actors and stuff, and it's really hard to stay in character for a number of years, let alone more than 20. It gets really great, and then you start saying, nothing makes me happy, or I don't know what makes me happy. I used to love my wife, and now I don't love her. I used to love this, and now I don't do this. Same with the husband, same with the wife, that kind of thing. So those are the two reasons. And I want to tell you what, don't be upset about it, because you were designed to split. This is the thing, you're built this way by design. And what we do here, okay, and I just want to say one other thing. What also happens, the message when you leave yourself, the message that you send to yourself is so the message that gets imprinted on your subconscious when you split is that I'm not enough. So now how does this work? Well, let's talk about how this works. So in the piece that says I'm not enough, and if you didn't share this yet, please do us a favor at Rythmia and share this now. But how the I'm not enough works is this, is that you look at your life, and I'm not enough works just like a GPS or an autopilot in a plane. So when I talk about talk therapy and I talk about workshops and talk about all this stuff and why they work while you're paying attention and they don't when you don't, is because of this. It works just like an autopilot. So let's say I'm flying in a plane from New York to LA, and I put in the autopilot Los Angeles, and the plane takes off, and then halfway through the flight, I fall asleep, and I turn the plane to Houston, and then I wake up and I let the wheel go again. Well, the plane will go right back to LA and it will land, right? Because that's where my autopilot was set. So now the way that this works is your autopilot in your life is I'm not enough. And so I'm tell you what I'm not enough does. And this, I'm going to give you classic examples of this. So I'm not enough. All of a sudden your job gets going great and you're experiencing success at work and you have a problem with your home life, and next thing you know, you're getting divorced, or you and your boyfriend or husband or significant other are done, or the vice versa. Finally, the love life starts going good, and then the financial life goes down. Your spiritual life is doing great, and then your social life is not. And it's this because that thing keeps going back to I'm not enough. I'm going to give you a real crystal clear example of this. So the lottery, the super lottery. So it's 175 million to 1 that you're not going to win it, but people do, right? 175 million to 1 that you're going to win it. So now here's a crazy statistic. Within 5 years, 70% of the people who won that lottery are bankrupt. 70%. So now all of a sudden, how the hell can that happen? That's more money than God. That is more money than anybody could ever do it. Why? Because the thing wasn't fixed, that they weren't enough. So if somebody comes and gives you everything, hands it to you. I went into a AM PM mini market and I walked out with $250 million. Boom. And 5 years later, I'm bankrupt. My family it's gotten worse. So this is what they found when they study these cases. These people's lives were here. They won the lottery and it shot it up to here, right? And now the counterbalances, after the smoke clears, in order to balance that high point, it's now down. You can't see it, but it's on the floor because it's worse off than before they had the money. Now their family left them. All of them have problems with their family. Their wives are gone. Their husbands are gone. The kids have a problem over the money, and this is the truth, because when that split occurs, it's printed on the forehead, I'm not enough, right? So what do we do here? We heal this. We put you back in your soul. And so you and your soul get remerged. Not once, not twice, but over 1,000 times. And 94 and change percent of the time, everybody who walks through the door gets the same thing. So people say, who are you to do this? You know who I am to do this? I'm nobody. I'm not special. I'm not picked. I'm not chosen. I'm just a guy who experienced such pain in his life that something happened to him. And it's so not rare that it happens to 94% of the people who come through this place, that I've been able to replicate it, that God's been able to replicate it for 94% of the people that walk through the door. And I get to see this coming back together every week of my life. And it's worth more than all the money in the world. This is the most important thing, is I get to see these people and their souls merge back together and get to have a front row seat at seeing divinity in action, to seeing God in action. And it happens all the time here. So the next question that obviously comes up is, how do you do it? So, well, this is how you do it. The way that we do it in a safe container, which this is. Rythmia is a super safe container. It's a beautiful place. It has it's nice, comfortable place. It has all kinds of creature comforts. You get beautiful farm-to-table food prepared for you. You have a spa. You have massages. You have a gravity-fed colonic called the Dead Sea Cleanse that happens, and it's wonderful for you. And you have these amazing thought leaders who come here and teach, and you have our own classes called About Your Miracle in the Rythmia Way, and this is about putting this back together. That's how we do it. What makes us a little different is that we have the assistance of plant medicine. And so when this happens under plant medicine, under sacred plant medicine in a ceremony, what happens is your soul comes back to life, and you can hear your soul, and your soul engineers the merging back with you. And then after this happens, they come back in and they repair your heart. So this is a system that we have here. So people say to me, well, listen, do I have to come to Costa Rica to have this done, or can it be done elsewhere? And I'm going to tell you what the medicine told me. I asked like how to do this. And it said, Jerry, there's no way not to do it. Everything you do in your life leads you to this conversation right here. Every single thing you do in your life is going to lead you to this conversation. Because I'm going to ask you something. Have you ever been around somebody in the death process? Right? Well, the death process, I don't mean an instant heart attack. I mean a death by old age or a progressive terminal illness. When you see that death process, that is a sacred plan journey. That's a life review of finding out of the split and a re-merging with your soul. That's what the death process is. So no matter what, you're going to do it. Now, you want to do it sooner rather than later and enjoy some of this life that we've been given, this beautiful life that we've been given, then that's what we do here, and that's how to do it. But there are all kinds of ways to do it. If you have 20 years, you can do it in psychotherapy. If you have a tremendous hypnotherapist, you could probably do it in a 4 or 5 day hypnotism. There's all kinds of ways to do it, because what you want to do, you've got to get to the part of this where your ego sits down and your soul steps up. And that's a really, really, really tricky thing, because when that happens, when your ego steps down, your soul steps up, and your subconscious is open, that's when we can do all the work. That's why it only takes us 7 days, and at some places, it'll take 20 years, right? But it takes 7 days, and it really does work. In 7 days, you come here one person, and you leave a completely different human. So people say, well, then is it solely based on plant medicine? And what the plant medicine told us is that plant medicine is a shortcut to that. It's a shortcut. It allows this thing that happened to me to happen to everybody who comes here. And I don't want that to sound like, oh, I'm some guy selling this place and just this place, because it's not true. But the only thing I know is that I spent my whole life trying to get better. I was in therapy 7 days a week, which I'm going to explain to you as this is absolutely true, for 6 years. For 6 years. When I came back to Malibu and I went to rehab, when I got out of rehab, I quit work and I was in therapy 7 days a week for 6 years. And it didn't work. So I can tell you, I've tried excuse me, please. I've tried everything. Every single thing that I could try, I tried, and nothing worked other than this. So I'm going to ask you to just believe that I'm telling the truth, that this thing really, really, really does work. It really changes lives, and I mean changes lives. And would I love to do this in the United States? I would love to do it. And can you do it? Absolutely. Here's the problem that I find with most people. You could do it through meditation, through talk therapy, through hypnotism. Most of the people I speak to who come here, and most of the people who come here are on the path. They're really on the path. If I ask a room of 50 people, how many people have a daily practice? They'll all raise their hands. And then I'll say, daily. And more than half of them will drop their hands. Because in our lives, especially in the lives of the United States, we can't even find time to meditate for 10 minutes a day, every day. So how are we going to find the time to go deep enough to get this kind of work done in our house when our husband's yelling or our wife needs attention, or our children need attention, or we have a social calendar that's full, or we don't even have time to go to therapy for an hour a week. We don't have time to go to meditate every single day. We don't even have time to eat right. So that's why this place is so sacred, so special, and it works so well. And when I tell you that it works, do me a favor. Go to TripAdvisor or go to Google reviews and just read what these people are saying that about this place. And both Brandy and I have made a commitment to each other that as soon as possible, as soon as legally possible, that one day we're going to get one of these in the United States and have it there in the United States as well. But until then, please come here. Now I'm going to tell you something that a lot of us get so mad at ourselves, and we say, Jerry, why aren't we getting better? Mary, why aren't I getting better? I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing this. I'm going to tell you, you can't get better when you're just dealing with your conscious mind. So going to workshops, that will work as long as you can stay 100% focused 100% of the time on the teachings of the workshop. That'll work. But God forbid if you have to make a sandwich or go to the bathroom or drive a car or fall asleep or do all the other things, because once that happens, it goes back to the subconscious, and we know where our subconscious is set. So I'm going to tell you this, to leave yourself alone. And this sounds so stupid. Of course, Jerry, I'm going to leave myself alone. I'd be crazy if I didn't leave myself alone. I'm going to tell you to leave yourself alone in the most real sense, and it could make the biggest difference in your life right now. It could make the biggest change in your life, and you can do it consciously. This one you can do consciously, and to ask you to leave yourself alone. So what does that mean? That means to surrender to the condition of this. That means to surrender to the condition of this. Sounds easy, sounds simple. So just surrender to the condition of this. So that's saying that I'm not going to use the wrong tool to try to fix me, and then when it doesn't work, get mad at me. I'm going to accept the condition that for whatever reason, by design, that I split from myself, and that this longing that I have is 100% human and where I'm supposed to be in the moment. It's human and where I'm supposed to be in the moment. So as soon as that happens, and you let yourself off the hook, and you allow yourself to be completely in this, for the moment, you're going to feel better. And I want to tell you what, the moment you feel better, the moment you become better, and you start allowing yourself with this state. And what a great teaching it is to teach yourself to love something that's imperfect about you, that is imperfect about you, because you're not perfect because you're not back with your soul yet, right? So your soul's still within your aura, but it's not back in you. So a couple things that we can do, to keep us there. So the thing that I tell all people is that and this can work like the devil too, but not there's not a literal devil, but the devil says if I'm going to let you decide whether you want to go to heaven or hell, and let's leave the decision till later. So like, of course, then you're going to go right down the thing. So, but a lot of people, if they're smokers, if they set a date to quit smoking, they feel better and they leave themselves alone about having the cigarette while they're having it, right? If you're a dieter and you got a little bit overweight, like I did for the past 30 days, and during that 30 days though, I didn't hate myself for eating cake. I said, okay, when I get back to Rythmia, when I get back to my home, I'm going to lose my weight. So by setting a date to have this happen, so what I'm going to ask you to do is to find somebody who does it near you, a great hypnotherapist, or to come here, or to save up and set a date to do either, to set a date and say, okay, I'm going to change my life on this date. I'm going to re-merge back with my soul on this date. And if you tell yourself that and you set a date, I don't care if it's for 4 years from now. I don't care. Then you're going to leave yourself alone, and you're going to allow yourself to be the human condition and know that this was supposed to happen to you. And it happened for a good reason, right? So you can evolve more. This is why this happened. So like, it's a perfect thing. It's not a problem It's itself a solution. It's here to help you and to know it and to know that you're going to feel better about yourself. And so to make that date. So take a calendar, just like, and then it's like, elementary goal setting for like 3-year-olds, but it works. So to take a calendar and to write out that date and circle it on the calendar, and then take your notebook and put the date in your notebook and know that this is the date that things are going to change. And then get down here and spend a week with us and make that happen. And if you don't have the money right now, so what? Call this number, this 866-936-9446, and talk to someone. Just talk to them. Get the motion going. Have them send you some information, and then pick a date way in the future and make it your date, and then have that off. And I'm going to tell you one other trick. So I have to do this without turning it on. So the medicine told me that this person in here, that this person who you left, your soul, is represented by a picture of you that happened before your split. So, and knowing that this split happened sometime between you when you were conceived and about 5 years old, if you have a picture of yourself as a child and you put that picture on your phone, and when you make that's your picture, right? And you put that on the phone and you make the deal with that child, and you say that, yeah, on this day, I'm going to go there and I'm going to put us back together. And in the interim, I'm going to stop making us feel bad. That's the way. Do that. That's a trick that actually works. So find this picture of yourself before you split and put that picture on your phone, and then tell that kid, tell that little beautiful girl, or tell that little innocent boy, and tell him that you're going to take him here, and that you picked a day, and that date's going to be sacred to you or sacrosanct, and you're going to make sure that happens. And I'm going to ask you to do that. And I'm asking you to do it so that it saves your life, because that's what we're doing here. And by saving your life, I don't mean you're going to kill yourself, although I was suicidal before I came. Many people who come are suicidal before they come. I'm not saying you're going to take your life. I'm going to say that I'm going to give you this process, will give you a brand new life, and a life that you very much deserve, because life looks a lot different after being here a week. And I'm telling you that from my soul. It really does. So I want to tell you to use that thing. And last week there were some people that said, oh, well, look at this guy's out. He's making all kinds of money. I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to hear this, okay? I started this thing. I bought this thing in I bought this thing in December of 2014, and we've lost money every month since then. I lose money every single month. And in the beginning, I was losing almost $400,000 a month. I'm losing less than $200,000 a month right now. I was a fairly financially okay guy before this. I have about a $10 million investment in this, and we're probably Rythmia, my beautiful wife Brandy, our family at Rythmia, we're probably going to lose money for the next 1.5 to 2 years more. Okay, so we're doing this because of I owe it this. Okay, what happened to me, I owe to other people. I was a terrible guy and leading a terrible life, and this thing that happened to me happened to everybody else who comes here. So I'm giving this back, and it's hard. It's hard because in a world where people don't even understand giving, you'll understand it more once this thing happens, right? That it's the highest form of selfishness is giving, because the joy that's in it is through the roof. My wife and I get the biggest charge out of doing this thing and in changing lives. So I really want you to understand that at some point this may make money and it may not. And either way, it's not going to stop us. We're doing this, and we want you to come here, and we want this thing to really come into your heart and change your life, and then change the lives of those people around you in the children and their children, and it just goes on and on and on, and it ends up being a huge part of this thing that they call the shift. So I'm going to answer some questions. Let me just take a look at this thing. Got a lot of people here. Okay, so how do you, this is my son. Hey, Jer, how do you know what picture to use? If you have the opportunity to look at a bunch of these pictures, it will resonate with you which picture you want to use. So just get a chance to look at those pictures. Let's see. Yeah, younger, the photo has to be from when you're younger than 7. It should be. Is the split always the result of trauma, from Rhonda? Here's the crazy thing, Rhonda. Okay, so my split was the result of a sexual thing that happened to me when I was 3 at the hands of my grandfather. And for a lot of people, there's so much of the sexual thing going out there. It's probably 30% from the sexual thing, believe that or not. But the bigger thing, so there's all different kinds of trauma, right? There's sexual trauma, physical trauma. A lot of times in the womb, fights between parents. God forbid a woman got hit or whatever, and that will cause it. But the number one reason, the medicine told us, is they didn't get fed on time. So the thing is, you have to understand, you were designed to split. So anything will make you split. The other better thing is the medicine generally doesn't even show you why you did it, because it's not even important. What's important is putting it back, not why it happened. The assumption is it happened. If you're asking the question, it happened. I'm going to answer some more questions. You talk about having a guide for your first experience. Are there guides at Rythmia? Yeah, absolutely, Melody. So the way that it works here is that not only are there guides, but when you get here, like today's a check-in day and tomorrow's a check-in day, and so when you get here, you probably spend your first night in nothing, but the next morning you're going to have classes, and those classes explain to you everything. You're going in super, super prepared, and then that night. So let's say that there's like in an average day, there's Michael Beckwith's program. The Answer Is You in the morning for the first couple hours. Then it's our program, the Rythmia Way. Then you go to lunch. Then after lunch, there's a guest speaker program. Like this week, we have Kim Terranova, had Kim Terranova. Next week is Troy Breyer. The week after that, I mean, there's someone every single week, and then that's from 1 to 3. Then you have a plant integration meeting, and then you go up and have the ceremony at night. And with the ceremony, there's shaman and helpers and musicians, and everybody's there to walk you through the process. And it's a scary process. Can I tell you a little bit about plant medicine and share this if you want to right now? But I'm going to tell you something. It's scary, okay? And I want you to know what's so scary about it. So what's scary isn't that you're going to see something that's like you're going to see somebody take their head off or something like that. What's scary is you're going to see you, because the monster under the bed the whole time is you. So the thing is, you're going to come face to face with yourself. And so what happens at Rythmia, it looks like this. So actually it looks the opposite. It looks like this. So people come in here and they're kind of excited and they see us, and then by Wednesday they're so afraid because their soul is pushing up against their ego, and it's a fight or flight response. And this is why I take my hat off so much to the folks that come here, because seeing yourself is a really, really, really hard and beautiful thing. But then by Saturday, if I could take you and have you meet these people today, they're flipping out. They're like brand new people. And I mean brand new, changed forever. And here's the greatest part about this, is that the change that they get is forever. And I'm going to tell you why. There's 2 reasons. The first reason is that when you're on the medicine and you drink the medicine, something happens. You get drunk, your ego gets drunk, your conscious gets drunk, your subconscious gets drunk, but your soul doesn't get drunk. And so all of these other aspects of you start hearing your soul. And when you make this agreement with your soul, because your soul is going to ask you to make an agreement, and it has to do with not saying that you're going to be different than you were, but acknowledging who you've been in the past. So if you've been a liar, if you've been a cheater, if you've been greedy, if you've been selfish, your soul is going to make you acknowledge that in order for you to merge back with it. And so the thing is, this is a scary process. But once that happens, you are born again. And because it's a soul agreement, and not a soul agreement that you said, I went to some counseling and made a soul agreement. Not that kind of soul agreement. A real soul agreement that you make with your soul. It's a permanent thing. It can't be broken. So the medicine said to us that you can't undo it. You can only re-screw it. And that's the first thing. The second thing is the medicine itself rewires how your brain fires. It rewires. So you can't, when you leave here, it's super, super hard for you to even think like you used to think. And that is the absolute truth. And that's the absolute truth. Let's just see if I got more here. What if you already realized those things about yourself? From Angela. Well, here's the thing. If you already realize those things about yourself, realize and then wholeheartedly acknowledge are two different things. So a lot of people, about 50% of the people say to me this, I knew that was me before. I knew that. I used to even joke about it. I would say to like my partner, well, you know me, that's how I am. But I wouldn't really own it. And what the medicine makes you do is really own that. So that's the difference with that. Cheryl says, is there alcohol in the medicine? No, there's not alcohol in the medicine. Hi, Mitzi, great name. Going there with my daughter in October. Can't wait to see if plant medicine can heal her depression and ADD. I'm going to tell you something, Mitzi, okay? And I don't want to come off like a snake oil salesman or something like that's crazy. But I'm going to tell you that, and the medicine shows us that something happens under the medicine called sacred surgery. And during that sacred surgery, it starts by the roof of your mouth getting numb. And then whatever the medicine is, which I believe it's God or your higher self or the Great Spirit or however you look at that, goes in and starts changing things. The most interesting thing is that it was explained to us that when you get back with your soul in this part here, that because all dis-ease happen as a result of you leaving your soul. So this feeling of not enoughness, of manifesting illness in the body, of manifesting illness in the mind is because of this. And when you put it back together, it goes away. It goes away. So I can tell you something. My partner here, Dr. Jeff McNary, he has a podcast I want to make sure you guys catch. I think Meg Pearson, our raw food guru from here, has a podcast tomorrow, and the day after is Dr. Jeff's. Make sure you see his. He's a psychologist. He ran Passages Malibu, which is the biggest addiction center, the most expensive addiction center in the world. He was the director there for 7 years. I actually met him there. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guy. But what's interesting is all of these things that were considered access to at one time, like narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, all these things that were considered access to, which is like almost incurable. If you see, they go away. We watch them go away immediately, and I mean immediately. In one night, bipolar. In one night, PTSD. In one night, depression. Depression's simply the result of the loss of you missing yourself. It's these things are fixed and easily fixed and fixed all the times. It's fixed all the time. So here's a great question too. This is from Morton, which is a great name, Mort. It is on the top of my wish list after what I don't know after what I've done now to get clean, to come down and work with myself. Okay, so getting clean. Getting clean is getting clean. So yeah, we want you to be off your meds before you get here. It's easier. It's easier for us at that point. So, and you can talk to this number here. I can't do this because I can't get it right. If you can talk to this number and call these people, and they will tell you about the medications and all that. And I have a question here. So, call that number, please, from Jim. Do we accept donations? Well, we're going to start accepting donations in so much as this. We're going to have a fund, and from that fund, we're going to allow scholarships where folks that can't afford it can come. So yes, please contact me, message me, Jim. We'd love to help more people than we're helping right now. Let's see. Yeah, Lori, that is true. Giving is the highest form of selfishness. It is. It's the greatest selfishness ever. It's hard to believe that I was a terrible guy. You should ask Mrs. Powell #1 about that. I'll call her the first lucky contestant, the lucky winner. Let's see, Heidi. Will we find out exactly when we split? No. Some people do and some people don't. So that's the part that you're going to love is you're going to find out exactly when you came back together. Let's see, Via. Maybe things will become amazing. I went in July and my hubby was a bit nervous. What happened? We've never been happier. Hubby is booked in January, the week of Kyle C's. We'll be there. Jerry and everyone. Love you guys. Love you, Via. Thank you so much. Yeah. Lori, yes, 2/3 of my adult income is trying to be comfortable with who I am, including I am, the medicine path, just now getting to the heart of the matter. Can I tell you about this? Okay, so let's talk about this. People say, hey, Jerry, why would anybody come down there and do medicine when I can do it on Tom's couch in Brooklyn? So I'm going to tell you, or why I can go down to the Sacred Valley and do it in Peru, and I can do this and I can do that. Well, I can tell you a couple different things, okay? So if you hear this, they're working on my roof because the hurricane toppled a tree that hit my house. So if you hear that, I'm sorry. But anyway, so why do it here? Well, there's a bunch of different reasons why to do it here. One of the best reasons is because you're going to be super safe. And you're going to be in place with doctors and nurses and super, super, super safe doing it here. I've had people that have done medicine over 500 times. That's a ton of medicine. And they came here and went to our classes. And on the first night, the next day, I said to him, hey, how was it? And the guy was crying, and he said to me, I wish I came here first, because it's the combination of how we do things that results in this wonderful, wonderful experience. Now, I haven't done the medicine in the jungle, but I've done it in the woods. And by the woods, I mean in the jungle-y part of Costa Rica. And drinking medicine and sitting on a thin yoga mat and being worried about scorpions and spiders and snakes and shit was not my way of doing it. I just couldn't get my hands around it. So we're doing it in a much different way here, in a much safer way, in a way that you're going to be protected, but more than that, in a way that you're going to be guaranteed results. And that's what we're doing as far as the results. So listen, I thank all of you. I'm going to take time and listen and talk to each of you guys and answer as many questions as I can. I'm going to explain Nicoline. I love that name. Fauché, that's a great last name. I'm going to explain the split again. So here is the split. So the split occurs. Something happens in your life between when you were conceived and 5 years old. And that thing is going to make you run from your soul out of safety, out of the feeling of being safe. And then who does this person turn into? it turns into the person you are today. It turns into the doctor, the lawyer, the Indian chief, the ditch digger, the homeless person, whoever the hell it was, the class clown, the class slut, the class athlete, the da-da-da-da-da, the funny guy, the straight guy. And it depends on your family dynamic. In your family dynamic, some of us got rewarded for being seen. And you guys became the actors and the this and that and the athletes. And some of us got rewarded for not being seen. And we became invisible. And you can't see us. And da-da-da-da-da. But this is all a part of this. And that's what that split is about. All right, these guys are working on my roof, or I'd stay here longer, and they're getting loud. So the first thing is I just want to say to my mother that I love her and that we're praying for her, and anybody who can pray for my mother during this time. It was a great help to us. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm going to ask you guys, I know this was a long and crazy one, but and sort of all over the place, but please take it to heart. Try to share this. The more people that we tell about Rythmia, the more we help the world, and that's really what we're trying to do. So I'm going to answer all these things that I can today. God bless you guys. God keep you safe. God keep you sound. Keep your news to yourself good and truthful. Keep your news to your family good and truthful. Keep your news to your friends good and truthful. And thank you so much for being with me today and sharing this time. God bless you, and we love you. We'll see you here soon. God bless you guys. Cheers now. I hope I can turn this off.